Something is happening in the South Caucasus that could redraw the global map. A peace deal has been signed, but behind the smiles and handshakes lies a geopolitical gamble that could shake Moscow, Tehran, and even Beijing. It is being called the Trump Corridor. But is it really about peace, or is it a new front in the great power struggle? Welcome back to Shadows of Strategy, where today we dive deep into the US-brokered peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan and uncover the hidden game behind this so-called corridor. For decades, the South Caucasus has been a region scarred by conflict, history, and rivalry. Armenia and Azerbaijan, locked in decades of hostility over Nagorno-Karabakh, have fought wars that claimed thousands of lives. Russia once acted as the mediator, keeping both countries dependent on its influence. But with Moscow consumed by Ukraine, Washington saw its chance. The US president brought Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev to the White House. And in a move that shocked the world, the three signed a peace deal that laid the foundation for a new trade corridor, one that could reshape the balance of power across Eurasia. At the heart of this deal lies the Zangezur Corridor, a route cutting across southern Armenia. For Azerbaijan, it links its mainland to the isolated exclave of Nakhchivan and beyond to Turkey. For Armenia, it promises badly needed economic revival after years of isolation. But the real beneficiary is the United States. This corridor bypasses both Russia and Iran, carving out a new artery of trade between Europe and Asia that firmly places Washington at the center. On the surface, it looks like peace. In reality, it's power politics. Russia's reaction was immediate and hostile. The Kremlin accused Washington of tearing away its traditional sphere of influence. For decades, Moscow maintained troops in Armenia and leveraged military sales to both sides to maintain its grip. But with Yerevan now leaning westward, Moscow sees the corridor as a direct threat to its authority in the Caucasus. Iran, too, has voiced alarm. For Tehran, being cut out of the trade route means losing both revenue and leverage. And it has warned against any realignment that undermines its role. Europe, however, is cautiously optimistic. For Germany, France, and other EU states scrambling to reduce reliance on Russian routes, the Trump Corridor offers a lifeline. Turkey, as NATO's southeastern gatekeeper, sees itself elevated as the key bridge between Europe and Asia. The corridor effectively creates a new strategic triangle: Washington, Ankara, and Baku, reshaping alliances in a region that once looked firmly under Russian sway. But peace in the Caucasus has never been simple. In Armenia, protests erupted almost immediately. Opposition figures accused Prime Minister Pashinyan of surrendering sovereignty by allowing Azerbaijani transit through Armenian territory. Crowds filled the streets of Yerevan, warning that the corridor is not a symbol of peace, but of submission. For Azerbaijan, the corridor's promise is clear, but the risk of renewed tension remains. Ethnic divisions and unresolved grievances could easily resurface, threatening to shatter the fragile accord. In Washington, the agreement was celebrated as a breakthrough. The president hailed it as a pathway to prosperity and peace. Yet analysts point out this is not simply about ending a conflict. It's about inserting American power into the South Caucasus at a moment when Russia and Iran are vulnerable. In many ways, the corridor is a symbol, a message to Moscow, Tehran, and even Beijing that Washington can redraw the rules of the game when and where it chooses. Neither Russia nor Iran is taking this lightly. Moscow has hinted at strengthening its military posture in Armenia, though Yerevan's westward tilt complicates its options. Iran conducted large-scale drills along its northern border, warning that any changes to trade routes must not undermine Iranian security. Both powers are expected to use covert influence, local allies, and economic pressure to weaken the corridor before it becomes fully functional. The global implications are enormous. For Europe, the Trump Corridor could be the key to diversifying energy and trade away from Russia. For Turkey, It's a chance to solidify its growing influence in the Turkic world. For the US, it's a bold move in the global chessboard. An alternative to both Russia's Eurasia networks and China's Belt and Road Initiative. Washington is making a statement. The South Caucasus will no longer be a Russian backyard, but part of a Western-led order. Still, the gamble is dangerous. History in this region shows that peace rarely lasts. One provocation, one border clash, or one political assassination could unravel everything. If the corridor collapses, Armenia and Azerbaijan could spiral back into conflict, destabilizing the entire region and dragging global powers deeper into confrontation. If it succeeds, however, it could rewrite Eurasia's strategic map for decades. Armenia and Azerbaijan now stand at the center of a struggle far bigger than their own rivalry. They are pawns and players in a larger game where Washington, Moscow, Tehran, Ankara, and Brussels all have stakes. For Armenia, the corridor could mean recovery, but also dependence. For Azerbaijan, it brings new power, but also new vulnerabilities. For Russia and Iran, it is a warning. Their influence is crumbling. The Trump corridor is more than just a trade route. It is the latest battlefield in the fight for global dominance. Will it bring peace and prosperity, or spark a new wave of rivalry in one of the world's most fragile regions? One thing is certain: the eyes of the world are now fixed on the South Caucasus. In those mountains and valleys, the next chapter of great power competition is being written.